Hi, this is Talk K Dramas with Bruce and Dallas.
Hey,
We are doing something a little different today.
we are.
Reviews.
Yes,
We're doing a movie review.
we
You
are
ended
going to
up
do it.
watching it, Miss
Yes,
Granny.
Miss Granny.
We
MISS. I don't know I don't know
Miss.
how to say the difference between MRS and MISS. They always sound the same to me, but
I always had trouble with that, but Miss MISS means a young girl.
yes.
Okay,
Well, MRS is normally
an
like the
older.
connotation is married.
Oh, and then there's
Then there's Ms.
Ms.
and Mr.,
What's
which
Ms? Ms.
Ms is older.
An
It's just an
older
older
woman.
woman who
Married?
not
Not
married.
married?
Not married.
Oh, not married. See,
Or it can be right. I mean, things are
we have such
changing.
a hard time with those. Yeah. Because sometimes you'll see like some people get like, no, a Ms.
Yeah,
And
I
I'm
mean,
like, okay, what's the difference?
we don't do
Honor-
honorifics very well in the United States. We just don't.
Yeah.
It's not who we are. I mean, literally as a nation. Like this is the sociological part of me just jumping out here. But it's like United States, we don't do that very well. It all started with those daggone hippies and question authority. I'm being dead serious.
In the 70s?
Yeah, it's like I'm actually more like the 60s. But it was like question authority. And so with the questioning of authority began the questioning of honorifics. And I think we mentioned it before, like, if someone were to call me Mr., it'd be weird. It would be because I'm only 50. And so it's like for us, it's like
but to the young kids, you are old. Yeah, you are old.
Yeah.
Okay, so
but anyway,
let me talk a little bit, just a little bit about this. We're gonna have spoilers. We're talking about
yeah. So stop now if you
and go watch it.
Yeah, please, watch this. This is definitely worth watching.
We loved it
for sure.
Okay, so it is a movie, one episode. Loved it, but it's called Miss Granny. There is a Filipino version that came out in 2018, and I'm sure other maybe Japan also. So the director and also screenwriter, Hwang Dong-hook, he also did Squid Game.
Very cool.
I know. And also, it's when I looked it up on my drama list, it also said Squid Game 2 to be announced.
Yeah.
So I think we kind of knew that. If you haven't seen Squid Game, we did Squid Game.
Well, yeah, Squid Game is definitely set up for a second series for sure.
Oh, yes.
Hopefully they kill it out. Hopefully they kill it anyway. Hopefully they end it after the second one. I don't honestly, I felt like they should have ended it after the first one. But
so Dong Hee Seong and Shin Dong Ik, also screenwriters, Love 9101. That's all. I don't know any other stuff that they did.
Right.
I do want to say though, when this came out in January 22nd, it came out in 2014. It was a hit. Yeah. 8.65 million tickets sold.
Nice.
Do you know the numbers? Like what makes a good?
I do not know the numbers.
Movie or how many tickets? Okay. So let me give you the two.
So they sold 8.6 million tickets.
That's what it said.
Oh wow.
It was a hit.
That's a hit.
I believe it. So there's two main characters. This movie is a comedy, a drama, has music in it. Everything I love, everything you'll love about it, everything.
Yeah.
And so there's two main characters. It's about an older 74-year-old woman who how do you say, she doesn't go back to her 20s. Her physical appearance changes to when she was
transforms 20. To a 20-year-old.
Her 20-year-old physical appearance.
Yeah, only. She turned back into her 20-year-old self.
Yes. Well, that's a little tricky. Only physically,
yes. Physically, you're right. Yeah.
So
that's important. That's an important distinction.
That's so important because she still thinks of herself as a 74-year-old woman.
Yes.
Right? It's just her physical appearance.
Where a lot of the hilarity happens is because
Yes. So the actress that plays a 74-year-old woman is Nam Moon Hee, and you've seen her in a lot of stuff. but I like her. She's such a good actress. I just can, she just reminds me of my aunt, my tia Katie. Like just everything about her. So it's just so relatable. Like I feel like I know her.
Yeah.
You know, it's like if you don't really know older people, I don't know how you would take this character, but I was very close to my aunt who was about her age when she was alive, when I knew her. And I just felt like, yeah, that's my aunt. Like it was, you know, she plays her character very well. She's feisty, you know, a little bad mouth, but of course you get older women like that, right?
Yeah.
Love them.
Yeah.
And so she plays Oh Mal Soon. And so she's also was in Dear My Friends, which I loved her in. She was so good. And I did a little like kind of review, not a review, but my thoughts about that show. So her younger self is played by Shim Kyung. She plays Oh Duri. Duri, and she's been in a lot of stuff. She was named, she was the first Korean actress to get a Best Actress award in Japan in 2020.
Wow.
She's not like glamorous. She's not like when you look at her, she's just, you know, gorgeous, you know, she's cute. Yeah. Right. But she's not that typical glamorous look. She doesn't have that.
Yeah, they definitely, I mean, maybe it's just the ones that we watch, but they definitely steer away from like the ultra, like the super glamorous types for the dramas. I'm not saying that there's not very glamorous women in South Korea. Clearly there are, but it seems like the actresses, they definitely go for a different look. I feel that way.
Well, maybe.
Because there's not a whole bunch of like glamorous
Well,
women.
remember, it's always like a lot of them that we see it's always like a Cinderella type.
Yeah, like I said, it might actually just be the movies that are the movies and TV shows that we pick.
But some of them, there's been, you know, like My Love from Another Star.
Yes,
there are. It's just recently. So she plays the 20-year-old version. She's gotten a lot of talk for her role in Sunny, which sounds great. I put it on my list to watch. Okay. And then she was in Hwang Jin Yi. Do you remember? We watched that. And that's with it's a historical drama with the actress from the one you really like, the actress that you really like. And so let's move on. There's a couple other actors in this movie. You know, her love interest is played by Park In Hwan, Mr. Park. He's the one that they worked together at a coffee shop, and he actually was raised by her family. So he has a very strong affection for her from a very early age. Yeah. And we have her grandson, who plays, you know, he's not considered a main role, but Jung Jin Young, and he plays Jima, and that's her grandson. Then her son, who's a college professor in gerontology. He studies old people, which kind of fits in this drama. So Sung Dong II, he plays Hun Chul, and that's her son. We also have the agent, and I had to put him in here because he's our eye candy for the drama. Lee Jin Wook, Seung Woo, he plays. Yeah,
he's definitely the eye candy for it until my man from Another Star comes in.
Yes. So
cameo.
I didn't even write down his name, and I forgot his name. Do you remember?
I always forget his name. The only person's name that there's only two people's name who stick. I mean, like literally who stick in my head, and that's Eamon Ho and Dong Yu.
So yeah, if you haven't seen this and you're gonna watch it,
but he's starting. It's okay to not be okay. That guy. Anyway.
That guy. So for whatever reason,
the top grossing guy, and I don't know why his name doesn't stick in my head.
So if you're watching this and for whatever reason you're like, I don't want to watch it, no, you got to watch it till the end so you can see him.
Just so you can see him. He looked good. He looks good.
Oh, he looks great, and they picked him for that part for that reason, so that he could look good.
Yes.
little, I don't know, James Dean or some, or what,
Yep,
on
James
the
Dean.
on the
Yep.
motorcycle.
The Korean version of James Dean. That's that was definitely the implication there.
Okay, so can I just say how much I love this? This is my favorite movie now.
Is it?
Right now?
It beats Love Hard?
Well, Love Hard was my favorite Christmas movie.
Mm-hmm.
So this is my favorite movie right now. And what was so interesting is, okay, so it's on Netflix right now, 2022.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so weird because the title it's not in English. I don't know if that's just us here in the States or wherever you're at. So you might get like mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And I was.
It's written in Korean, yeah.
So when I first started watching, I was like, I think I saw this already. and it took me, I'll tell you the part when I finally realized I did see this movie. And it was so wonderful because I felt like I was watching it for the first time. Mm-hmm. And I could watch it again because it's so good. It has so many elements that you just want to see again. Mm-hmm. And so there's a point. So this is all spoilers. So you guys probably have watched it, but the part where she's now her 20-year-old physical self and mm-hmm. she sees the little baby in the stroller.
Yes.
And so this must be, I don't think we do it here.
We do not do it here in the United
States. Or we've never seen it, but I know there's something that we do similar like that, mm-hmm. at least in maybe Mexican culture or something. But remember, she's 74 years old, despite what you see.
Yeah.
She's 74 years old and she sees this little toddler and she like pretends she's like, he's so cute. You know how you say to a little kid, like, I could just eat you up. Mm-hmm. When they're so cute, we say that.
Yeah. Well, that's what we say in the United States.
Well, she's like, let's get a taste of your little pee-pee. She like pretends like she pinches his little pee-pee and eats it. And then she looks up and the mother's looking at her like, oh, you gross, disgusting little girl. And then she's like, oh, let me put it back. Oh my gosh. Like,
that was hilarious. I could not stop laughing. That was hilarious.
So what makes this drama so good is just that she has to play not just somebody else, which every actress plays, but she has to play somebody who's 50 years older. And, you know, when you're that much older, you have ways that are different than other generations. Look at the way she moves and dances.
Yeah, that was,
you made a comment about
hilarious. That. Yes. Well, she always, so as I was thinking about it, is that no matter what, she did not break character. And it's like her character is to be a 74-year-old woman in a 20-year-old body, right? And that was, you know, and so she never adjusted out of that. You always knew that she was an old woman. You always knew that by her behaviors, right? And what she said and did and everything. And so, because I'm going to tell you, right, it's like, think about it. If she would have ever adjusted, because there was a moment in there where I thought she was going to kind of move out of the space, like because she started like, because she started rubbing her shoulder and she was like, whoa, hold up. It don't even hurt her shoulder, right? And so I thought she was going to start adjusting out from there. But if she would have adjusted out of that character, it would have been a different movie.
It would have been a different movie. And that's what makes this every detailed. I don't think there was any low point in the movie.
There was not a low.
I was either dying laughing, I was embarrassed, or I was crying.
Yeah.
The whole time. It wasn't any like throwaway scenes. I don't think there's always a throwaway scene, in a movie.
Yeah.
I don't think this had any.
No, it was great. It was great drama. Even the parts with, there might be parts that you may like or not like or whatever, but yeah, no, it was well written, just perfectly acted. I loved it.
There's a lot of movies out there where they go back in time. They go, forward in time. We just watched Hello Me, mm-hmm. where the character gets to interact with her 20-year-old self or
17-year-old self.
There's like a 17-year difference there.
20 years.
So I was thinking about it and I'm like, a lot of those shows is to go back and fix something,
Mm-hmm.
and this wasn't about fixing it.
Yeah.
This wasn't about going back and looking at mistakes
Yeah.
or anything that you would do different,
Mm-hmm.
because even at the end of the movie, when her adult son realizes who she is,
Mm-hmm.
he's like, he wanted her to stay that
Yeah.
age.
Yeah.
He's like,
Yeah.
because she had to raise him as a single parent,
Mm-hmm.
because his father died
Yeah.
at
Died
an
when he
early
was
when he was a
baby.
baby.
Yeah. Died when he was baby.
And he's like, I think he said something, like, now you can go back and live your life. Then she's like, I wouldn't change it,
Yeah.
you
Oof.
know.
I'm getting emotional already.
I know. And that is so, this drama, again, it wasn't about any regrets
Mm-hmm.
at all. It
Yeah.
was just about, hey, that wasn't your life. You had, she loved to sing.
Mm-hmm.
So she was able to do that.
Yes.
But it wasn't about regrets.
Yeah.
It wasn't about something that badness. Well, the bad thing was that her husband died,
Yes.
but she raised her son, and it was hard,
Yeah.
because they showed scenes where she had to, pick leftover food off the floor or something like that, to
Mm-hmm.
leave
Yeah.
greens or something. And she's like, no, like, I wouldn't change this, and there was a scene early on when she's old. She works at a coffee shop, and she gets in a literal fist fight. It's not a fist fight, a scuffle.
Yes.
Like,
It was a fight.
with another old woman.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
I
That was hilarious. That was
Yeah, if
hilarious.
you think old people are boring, yeah, you don't know old people.
You got to hang out with old folks, like for real. Like this.
They got a
Yeah.
fight in them. Some of them, they got a fight in them. And so she gets in this fight, and I think twice. She gets in.
She gets, but I don't know. She didn't fight her twice as an old person, but they kind of
Well, remember the
they were
other?
rivals.
No. There was her rival, and then there was a woman who knew her when they were young, when she was a little younger. That
Mm-hmm.
woman, you remember when she came back and said, "My family helped you."
Oh
When
yeah. Yeah.
and they got in a like a little fight,
That one didn't work out as
and
well.
that's when she's on the ground, and she broke down, and she was like, okay, yeah, I did that. But how many of you can say you raised a son who went,
Who became a professor?
who became a professor? And I was just like, I am realizing that right now, like when I talk to our kids and stuff, and I'm like, as a parent,
Mm-hmm.
there's a few things that will make you proud.
Mm-hmm.
And that the only parents just, I mean, there's a little competition there among parents and the kids. There
For sure.
really is. And it's, did I do a good job raising my kids?
Mm-hmm.
And you saw that there when she's on the ground, and she's like, how many of you can say this? Maybe I was, maybe I did steal your family recipe and use it, but I had to I was a single mom.
Mm-hmm.
I did what I had to do, and look at my fruits. Can any of you say you've done better?
Yeah.
And at our age with our kids, almost all of our kids being adults now,
Right.
it's like, that means, man, you have some status when your kids could really
Yeah.
lift you up. And not that it's, you don't want to put that necessarily pressure on your kids,
Mm-hmm.
that, hey, you got to do well so I look good. It just happens,
Yeah. It's just part of the drill.
yeah. And it's because I tell the kids, I remember when I was younger, I mean, a young adult, I was driving down the 5 freeway in Carlsbad, and there was this old car with 2 old people in it. Like, the windows are kind of, they're not tinted, and you could see really good inside the car. And you could tell there was this old man driving, and way over here was this little old lady, and they had this giant bumper sticker on the back, and it said, "You too will be old soon." And they were in the slow lane, going slow. And man, that hit me.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
I have always remembered that. Like, look, there, that you're gonna be that person.
Yeah.
There's no way around it.
Mm-hmm.
That is gonna be you one day.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, do you want to say anything? Yeah.
Well, I was thinking about my mom. When see, I already knew it. I knew it was the moment I started talking about it, I was going to get emotional.
Tissues
Yeah,
over there.
I will. I may. But when I became a professor, especially after I got my PhD, my mom didn't even like. For the people who are listening to us for the first time, my mom is a Japanese immigrant, married my father. This is during the Vietnam War era. I'm, born in 1971. And she had a rough life. She had a really rough life. And, he, married her, came over here, divorced her, cheated on her, divorced her. It was bad. And she was raising 3 kids by herself
and barely spoke English
and barely spoke English and everything. So she was, grinding. I would just remember my mom working and coming home exhausted. That's what I remember the most. And then still mustering up whatever energy she had in order to be able to make us dinner. Or on Sunday, she would literally spend all day washing our clothes and stuff. It was just an amazing feat when I look at it. And, when I became a professor, like I said, especially a PhD, she didn't even know what it was. Quite honestly, most people don't know what PhD even means. All she knew was that I was a professor. And in Japanese culture, professor is right. That is about as high of an earned space that you can get to, right? It's like, when you're a CEO of these massive companies and stuff, normally it's kind of passed down to you or whatever. But as far as like earning something, professor is probably one of the most, prestigious jobs that you can have in spaces like that. In Asian cultures, generally being a professor is like revered, versus kind of in the United States is not quite the same. It's not the same thing. Or let's not, I'm not even going to fake that, right? It's like, it's not the same thing in the United States. In the United States, there's a saying, it's like those who can do, those who can't teach.
That's how we feel about our teachers.
Yeah, that's how
terrible.
A lot of people in the United States feel about teachers. However, like I said, in Asian cultures, and especially in Japanese culture,
I think a lot of other cultures,
like a lot of other cultures, they really revere. Yeah, they like the professors and teachers are actually very highly regarded, and everything. And so, just saying is that raised my mom's status amongst her friends. Mom,
yeah.
She when it was like, oh, he teaches over at Maricosta, and Maricosta Community College is not a 4-year university. I don't think of anything less of it, but and yet at the same time, being a professor, having your PhD, especially from USC, a place that anyone across the world would be able to recognize those letters, like big time, just status. She could. And I'm glad I was able to give that to her.
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't for her, poof.
Is there any other scenes that you wanted to talk about that you really liked?
Honestly, the intro part and of how it talked about women and comparing them to balls, that I just thought that was freaking hilarious. I can't remember the first one, but what was it? It's like this, like in the 20s, you're a rugby ball or something like that. It's something I can't remember the first one. But then in the 30s, it's like ping pong. Like you're a ping pong ball. It's like you only got 2 men chasing after you, but the ball is still the focus. And then golly, what was the other one? I just remember the last one now, and that was you're a dodgeball. And I thought that was freaking hilarious.
I don't even remember any of that.
That was so fun. Oh my goodness. You got to go back and watch. Just watch that part. To me, it was hilarious. And then it keyed into a specific scene where when she just turned young, and then she was getting all these attention from all these men, and she's like, golly, I can't being 20 is freaking exhausting. Like I was that part. That man, that was just
when the agent was trying
so
to talk
funny.
to her.
Yeah, yeah.
And she was just like, oh my God, you're so forward. Or what is she? Yeah.
It was like I said, it was
everything.
Yeah.
Well, I remember the beginning scene, they were talking about how old people smell, because I'm always like, I am not going to smell. I'm not going to smell. Remember that, Alice?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not going to smell. And it's so funny because I worked with an older lady one time, and she didn't dress like an old woman. I was like, oh, how do you do that? Like, how do you not dress like an old woman?
Mm-hmm.
Because you like you just kind of go with the styles, you know, or not go with the style. You kind of keep your style all the time, because time just passes you by.
Right.
And so you end up looking old.
Right.
But this woman,
you just don't buy new clothes, and sooner or later you're going to look old.
Or where you buy your clothes. And so she always looked sharp, you know, her hair was done. And I just thought, oh my gosh, how does she do that? What do I have to do to make sure that I don't look old? Because, you know, in this episode, her clothes. She looked normal until she changed physically. And then you saw her clothes and you're like, oh my gosh, they look horrible. But they didn't. They looked fine while she was wearing them.
Yeah.
You know, but what is so interesting, so there's this women's clothing store called Chico's, and I don't know if it's all around the world or whatever. It's a little higher end, you know. You may not find it everywhere, but there's, I don't want to say really high end, but you're not gonna just find it anywhere.
Right.
And I always thought those are old people clothes, right? Those are like older, you know, when you have, you know, you want women that really think about how they look, older women.
Yeah.
And there's one close to us in the Carlsbad outlet, right next to Under Armour store. And we go there all the time to buy a lot of shoes.
Yeah.
So I pass it all the time. And at some point, not too long ago, I was like, dang, when did they redo their style? Because their clothes look good. Like, I would be walking by and be like, dang, that is nice. I gotta go in there one of these days. I gotta remember. I gotta check it out. And then it occurred to me that they probably didn't like revamp.
They didn't change anything.
And I went, damn. That's how you know you're old.
The older styles start appealing to you.
So I'm like, do I accept it? Because I'm going to be like that old lady I worked with. Like, you got to be up with the styles. But then there's a part of me that's like, I'm not going in there. No, because that means I have surrendered to oldness.
It's like a lot of women with like this idea that they'll become the soccer mom when they do buy a minivan.
Oh yeah, it's we know a lot of them.
We have a lot of friends who are like, no, I'm not going to get a minivan. I'm not going to be that mom.
Soccer mom.
It's like,
why is that so bad to be a soccer mom?
I mean,
the mom jeans. Well, the mom jeans are in now.
Yeah,
but at the time. Why? Yes. What
people would prefer the SUVs versus minivans, and I'm going to tell you. Look, we're going to be flat out. I'm going to be flat out with you. Minivans are freaking amazing. Minivans are amazing. We have a minivan. We had a minivan for over a decade now.
12 years. We got our first minivan when I was pregnant with Alana.
Yeah.
And
so then, over 12 years. Minivans are amazing. They're amazingly comfortable. They're like they can operate like a truck when you put the beds down in it.
They're just the most comfortable car.
You can your kid can change standing up because we do a lot of sports and everything. It's like your kids can change clothes while in there. It is the most amazing car ever. I would just drive a minivan if it didn't look weird for a dude to just drive a minivan.
Those huge SUVs are not that comfortable either. They're just bulky. So I knew I wanted a minivan when I walked by one and a little kid was in there changing his clothes. And I went, that's exactly because you said all our kids are in sports.
Yep.
And I was like, that just makes sense. And when I got in there, I loved it. I loved it so much that a couple years ago,
you bought the exact same car.
I thought a couple years ago, I thought I was ready to turn in the minivan. I'm like, I'm older, my kids are older. It's usually just me and Alana. I want a little more luxury.
Yeah.
So that's when I bought that
Camry.
Toyota Camry. It was all sporty.
Mm-hmm.
And I hated it because it was so low to the ground and it hurt my sciatica. And there was no room. I was like this. I'm like, there's no room for my big old bag, you know? And so we kept it for a couple years and then we just got rid of it. And I bought the same van.
The exact same.
White, everything.
Just updated.
Yeah.
2019.
Has a camera now. Yeah. And it's so comfortable, but I am now thinking still
Maybe
though,
you're
I want a
ready.
little luxury, but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. But
the other thing I wanted to say is that, you know, old style is appealing because, you know, we just did the minivan thing. The part that cracked me up, and I don't know when it happens, but for older Asian women, Japanese, my mom did the same thing with her hair. She did the permanent with her hair.
the broccoli.
Yeah, that
See?
whole thing with the broccoli, I thought that was like
That was your mom. Your mom could have
that
been
was my
sitting right
mom.
there. I think
That
she
was my mom. My mom could have been an extra right there in that space.
My mom
and it would have
too.
been.
But my mom.
No, your
too, a little
mom's
bit. It's a
hair is
little different.
naturally curly.
Oh yeah, she didn't.
Yeah, she didn't get a perm.
And hers is not like a round ball.
Yeah,
She's
I don't
style.
know what it is. I don't know what triggers in an old person's head to say, okay, this is now time to rock this style. Maybe it's easier to take care of.
No, I can tell you.
What is it?
I can tell you because I'm getting there.
You're getting there? You're starting to look at that, you're like, ooh.
Look, if you're young, I'm so sorry to tell you this. I hope it doesn't happen to you. But what happens is you have something that's you're gonna call it an Aruba. That's what it's called, an Aruba. I think that's what, yes.
A bald spot.
You lose hair up here.
Oh, you start losing
a little bit of hair. So you got to kind of fix your hair. So that term was made, and I can't remember her name right now, but she wrote all those rom-coms in the 90s, like You Got Mail. She's the writer.
Oh, okay.
She wrote all those, and she wrote a little book of reflections that I read. So she called that little part an Aruba, because you got to like move your hair around because you get, thins out. And so I'm like, oh my God, I feel scalp. Something's wrong here. Your hair just starts thinning out.
Yeah.
And then it's just not as soft as it used to be. And so you're like, if you cut it short and it's all fluffy, you could hide all your scalp. It's that, or the alternative is like you can see your scalp.
Wow.
You're walking around and you can, when you old people, and that's hard. I mean, I'm used to having tons of hair.
Yeah.
Like my hair was so thick, and it's not that thick anymore, and then now I'm getting grays. So yeah, it's just, yeah. And then your hair starts falling out. And that's, now I understand why my Tia Katie always wore a net when she was cooking food, because when you're young, your hair is so strong, it doesn't fall out like when you're old. And so the worst thing for her would be to have hair, finding hair in the food.
Yeah. Like
that would be horrible. Yeah. I think my aunt also had a little bit of a young soul in her, because she knew all the old people stuff. She did not want to be, she tried to be clean, and then the hair thing, she always wore a hairnet, and I was like, oh, it's so ugly. She's like, no, you got to wear a hairnet so your hair doesn't fall out.
Yeah. And
so keeping it short, all of that is just, like you're doing some stuff too, or you're starting to look like a little old, same thing. And it's because it's, it feels good, because things start hurting. Like when you went and bought Skechers.
Oh, to walk around in the house.
Like that's old stuff. Yeah. The young kids are going to look at you and go, yeah, that's an old person,
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Got it.
See, as old people don't want to admit it.
I guess I could have bought some Crocs now, but I needed to.
Well, they're in style now.
True.
Now the young kids are wearing them. So you look really cool if you bought the Crocs, if they're comfortable for you.
Yeah, they're just regular shoes.
Okay. Her singing. Oh my gosh. I could just listen to her sing. Again, if you haven't watched this drama and you're just listening to us, you got to watch it. because I just want to listen to the OST,
Yeah.
the soundtrack,
Yeah.
because she's so, I don't know if that, I've heard other people have renditions of that. I guess, is it a rendition or they sing it? So
Mhm.
it is, I don't know if it's a popular song in South Korea. I think it is,
Oh,
because
I'm
other
sure.
people
Yeah.
have sang it if it's an old song.
Right.
But her voice is so beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just one of those songs. I mean,
And then
yeah.
you read the words,
Yeah.
so there's so much in this movie, and it is a movie. We've
Yes.
already talked about the singing. She is so good. And it wasn't about, there's no parts in it that she has to go back and, she did things, lived a certain life. And she didn't have really regrets,
Right.
so it's not about that. It's just about, hey, I got a chance to do something I would have loved to have done
Right.
when I was young,
Yeah.
and I'm good at it.
Right.
And she got to do that again. And and that, and her little fish out of water thing, her being, because everybody noticed it and they liked it.
Yeah.
They're like, you're different than the rest of the girls,
Right. 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 Yeah.
And everybody appreciated that. Her remember how when she was on the bus and she's telling the mom, oh, you don't have any milk,
Or
your
like
baby's
your, yeah,
crying because
your milk
you
is bad or so.
watery
Yeah.
and stuff, and just cute,
Well, the
it
woman
wasn't
did.
cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
The
wasn't cute.
woman didn't think it was cute, but yeah.
Or then when she slaps all the boys after the little
On the behind.
concert, and they're just like you can do stuff like that, when you're old, you can
Yeah.
get away with it.
Yeah. And, to me, it's like this is, one of those things of when I think about teaching and, different styles of teaching or whatever, it's like anything can work. This is me, a teacher who teaches teachers. And it's like, when people are first coming in, they start, they're learning how to teach. So they bring in new stuff all the time. And I'm like, look, you can do whatever you want. There's no magical mystical formula that's going to get students to understand and or pass your class better. There's no magical formula. The key is to be authentically you, to do stuff that works for you, that you identify with, that makes sense, and whatever. And so be authentic, be you. And that's what she was. She was a 74-year-old woman in a 20-year-old body.
Mm-hmm.
She just acted authentically. And people were like, that's kind of weird, but it's cool because it's her. I mean, it made sense. She wasn't trying to be that. She was it. And so, those are, to me, that's probably maybe, one of the better life lessons that you can, if you're younger and you're watching this, it's like, just be you. Right? You spend so hard to be someone else. And it's like, you are amazing.
It's nice to find somebody who's authentic. And you saw that in the agent was sitting across from her on the bus when she was telling that mom how to take care of her baby. And of course the mom hated it, but the look on the agent's face looking at her, he was, it was, he was kind of amused, like it was just authentic, like you said, like just looking at her and go, wow, like she's just being who she is. And it was refreshing for everybody. And her grandson, remember her, oh my God, there's so many, like I want to go through each scene and just talk about every scene. Remember her grandson when he was drinking with her and he was all shy?
Yeah.
And I love this, that look. And I don't know if young people do it or if it's an old person thing, but she was just like, oh, look at him. This is what his grandfather, this is exactly what his grandfather did. And that's how we had your father or something like that. He was all shy. So I love that. I love that she got to see her grandson, and the awkwardness, because he was, I don't think he really had a crush on her. I think there was just something there that, some type of bonding, something that was familiar to him. I love that. I loved, okay, I want to say this scene before I forget, but there was some other stuff I want to talk about. Oh my God. Okay. So the Mr. Park, the older man.
Oh yes. Yeah.
The scene when his daughter walks in on them and he's holding her leg. Like, I mean, I was all in, like I was there, opening the door and seeing your old father with this young woman. I mean, he had her leg. It was a little provocative.
Yeah.
Looking, because remember that he pulls down her skirt, and I was like, oh, what would I think they would be doing if I opened the door and saw that? She was disgusted. And I thought,
yeah, 50-year difference. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, and I love the acting with them too, because I saw her as she is Malsoon, the old lady.
Yeah. Yeah.
I saw her, even though that's what I felt her, even though that's not what I saw. And so when I had to come back to reality and think these two actors had to play that part.
Yeah.
It's a little bit, because I keep at, would I be able to do that? Would I be able to let some, older man like that, even though it's acting?
Yeah.
I'm not an actress. So I'm like, oh, can you imagine? Like, you got to make that look real.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that I don't think that scene was too tough. It was
for me, because her legs were all open. He had her leg.
Okay. I'll just trust that.
That's because you're a guy.
That is true.
Woman, for me, I would have been like, so look, this was aired in 2014. She's 74. So for her to go back to her 20-year-old self, that would have been in the 60s. 19, what is it? I wrote it down somewhere.
Yeah, it had to been about the 60s.
So they made a lot of reference to Audrey Hepburn. Have you ever seen a movie with Audrey Hepburn?
I've never.
Oh, I know my sister loves her. Roman Holiday, Sabrina. So she's a British actress. She is like all-time one of the best.
Yeah, I've seen plenty of pictures of her. I've just never seen
old classical Hollywood. Her movies are really good. If you haven't watched, like, Sabrina's really good. Roman Holiday's cute, and she's like a fashion icon of her time. Right. So for Malsoon, in her mind, to be 20, that would have put her back in the 60s. So Audrey Hepburn made movies at the 1950s, 1960s.
Okay.
So this is a big deal, and I loved for her to, she looked at, her as inspiration for her haircut, her clothes.
Yep.
Like, that must have been a big deal for her to be able to do that, to have the haircut like Audrey Hepburn.
Yeah.
In her eyes, that's like, like if just now, if you think, who the biggest star was when you were in your 20s, and you got to go back and kind of play that, not that part, but, be able to be in a place where you can, I don't know, some rap star that you wanted to be like, and you got to play that, it was important. I'm just saying, it was how she must have felt, how good she must have felt, especially after being 74, and her life wasn't that, she didn't have a lot going for her. She didn't get along with her mother-in-law or daughter-in-law.
Yeah.
They were about to put her in an old folks home.
They were.
And look at her as a young girl, how much fire she had.
Right.
And so I just, life is an interesting thing.
For sure.
And so anyways, I just thought that was awesome.
So are we ready to wrap this up?
No, I want to talk about more.
You about to cry?
No. We didn't talk about, like, her life having to raise this. We did talk about it. Her son and how sad
we
that
touched
was.
on. Well, I think we touched on pretty much anything. The only I want to ask a question, but it's the wrap up question.
Okay,
so
go ahead. I think we're done.
Yeah.
Please watch it if you haven't watched it, or if you did watch it, tell us what you thought.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's on Netflix right now.
Given I'm just thinking of the decision, right? Because there was a decision to be made, and the son gave her an out, and that was, hey, stay your younger self, enjoy your life. Your life is well established.
But it was at a cost.
What's that? Yeah, the car. Well, you don't know if the grandson would have stayed alive or not. We don't know that.
We're assuming there was a cost. There was
Yeah.
a cost there, right?
No, if you assume the cost that the grandson was going to die.
He needed a blood transfusion, right? And she was his only blood type.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Something like that?
They ran. Yeah. They needed her blood type.
So we're assuming that they needed her.
Correct.
And we know already that if she bleeds,
she turns old.
She's turning old.
Yeah. There's no way. It's not even worth asking the question. There's not what. Go ahead.
Basically, the father was saying, "Stay yourself," and like his son could die. That was interesting.
Yeah, I mean,
I didn't think about that watching it.
He said it was the father said it was his responsibility to keep his son alive.
So, that's right. That's right.
You go and enjoy the rest of your life.
You know,
you didn't have to,
Now I'm going to cry because the implication of how much at that point right there, the implication of how much her son was saying to her, "I appreciate and I know everything you did for me."
Yeah.
And didn't he say something too, like you never have to pick up food from other people?
Yeah, have some sickly child and have a husband that died early.
Oh my God, yes, you were bringing all that back to me.
Yeah.
So what's your question?
Well, I already know the answer. If the grandson was on the line, you would say no. However, eliminate that from the equation.
Well, then what would be the purpose of getting old?
No, I'm saying if you take away the grandson dying, let's say the grandson could live, would be fine.
Yeah. Would you go
back? What do you do?
You stay young.
Oh, that is just that common sense for you? Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Why would you want to go back to being old and hurting and know that you don't have a lot of years left? Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
That's a no-brainer to you?
Yeah, she had a great life, and now that everybody knew, you would too.
It's interesting to me, right?
Are there things we didn't think about?
No, no. What's on the table is there, and it's just like, I literally have been thinking about this, like dreaming. I had a dream or something about it too. It's like going back to. It's like, man, would you ever want to go back to your 20-year-old self?
In what way?
And
like in what capacity?
In this way, yes,
because
I'd do it.
But you are still an old soul.
Yeah, and then also it's also the spouse was dead also, right? Because I wouldn't well, I don't know what you would do with me, but I know I wouldn't leave you. I wouldn't make that decision. I wouldn't stay young.
There's some like Twilight Zone episodes about stuff like this.
Yeah.
Oh, isn't there a Star Trek too? There's a Star Trek episode where the husband is a scientist or a doctor and he made himself young. Something like that, right?
There's always consequences though.
I think for her in this situation, yeah, there's no reason she has to be old.
Yeah.
There's nothing I can't think of anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't think of anything. But yeah.
I think that's a good wrap up.
Yes, please let us know what you thought. I'd love to hear comments about this movie. I can't imagine that anybody would not love this movie.
I agree, but clearly there are people who could disagree. But anyway,
thanks for listening or watching. Yeah, we're going to put this on YouTube.
Yep.
The Talk K-Dramas with Bruce and Alice.
Bye.